this is Willow explaining how she got her name. I was named after a stick. The way Mom tells it, she couldn't get Dad to agree on any names. Ellen after Grandma, Sally after Dad's great aunt in Michigan. No, he wanted something modern, something meaningful. It will come to us, Dad kept saying. Let's hope it comes before the baby learns to walk, said Mom. Always does, said Dad. That's how they argue. Each knows what they want, but neither seems to think it matters much who wins. Since Mom gives in before Dad most of the time, Dad gets his way a lot. He told me that just before I was born, he found a small stand of diamond willow and brought home one stick. That's it. Let's name our baby Diamond Willow. Mom had to think about it for a few days. I can see it now. They're on the airplane flying to Anchorage. Mom's in labor. She'll agree to almost anything. Okay, she says. So Dad puts Diamond Willow on my birth certificate, and then Mom says, we will call the baby Willow. And then the next poem. This, you can see on this side, I've put just a little example of the what the shape from the willow looks like, and on the left you see the actual stick there. I think in the middle, actually, that's the long, straight stick. If my parents had called me Diamond, would I have been one of those sparkly kinds of girls? I'm not sparkly. I'm definitely not a precious diamond. You know, the kind of person everyone looks at the minute she steps into a room. I'm the exact opposite. I'm skinny, average height, brown hair, and ordinary eyes. Good. I don't want to sparkle like a jewel. I would much rather blend in than stick out. Also, I'm not one of those dog-obsessed kids who talk about nothing but racing in the junior Iditarod. I like being alone with my dogs on the trail. Just us, the trees, the snow, the stories I see in the animal tracks. No teachers, no parents, no sneak up on you boys. Thanks. So then I think, is the next one the letter? Yeah. This is a letter. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I wanted you to see this, a letter that I got from a student after I confess I must have bragged to his teacher who knew me, and she had her students reading Diamond Willow. And I love that. I'll read that one. I have a paragraph that I've written that incorporates that one sentence that's so special to me. If anyone doubts the importance of awards such as this one in bringing books and young readers together, consider the letter from PK asking, "Are you an actual poet? The reason I asked that question was because of the award that you got for the Lee Bennett Hopkins Poetry Award." We don't always hear the reasoning behind the questions children ask, but there it is. The award is a gift not only to the author, but to young readers who are just discovering what poetry can be, and are willing to expand their definition with just a little encouragement from a voice of authority such as Lee Bennett Hopkins. And I might add, with the administrative work of Stephen Herb, Carolyn Wermuth, and the incredible amount of work of the judges. You know, all of those things that bring children and poetry together. Then I wanted to share one other thing that a young reader named Alex he said to me. He congratulated me in his letter for making a real book turn into a poem book. So apart from what that says about the question of reality, I just take great delight in that, that sense that I think what he means is a real book is something that has a story in it. And a poem book, you know, who knows what that meant to him. I think maybe he saw the shape of the words on the page. Maybe he did hear the way that I'm so, that I use my poetry toolkit is how I think of it. When I'm writing those diamond-shaped poems especially, I'm really focusing on each sound and letter, the shape of the language, the way it sounds in my ear, the images. It's all coming together, and it pleases me so much that children don't stop to say so much anymore. You know, it doesn't rhyme. How can it be a poem? They see the poetry in that. I wanted to tell you a funny story, though. A friend of mine, when I shared this email that I got from this little boy, and a friend said, well, I hope that you can turn poem books back into real books, because she was afraid that you couldn't let me loose in a library or there would be nothing but poem books left in my wake. So that was funny. I wanted to talk about one other thing. It's the question of where do you get your ideas. In the course of writing this book, I had the idea to have the animal. It was so, just walking around in this imaginary landscape, I was so aware of the presence of the animals from living in Alaska for a few years. It's just, you're always seeing their tracks, or you see them flying, or you hear them, or you eat them. You know, the animals are really a huge presence. And I was also, like, I think, was it Catherine who said, or someone was talking, several people I think this morning have spoken about the ancestors who have come before us and how those support, how the people who have been before us protect us. It was the person who was talking about learning English. But in so many ways I was aware of those two things, of the presence of our ancestors in our life and the presence of animals in that landscape in Alaska. And then I also, I don't know if I consciously remembered this. I think this is something that I remembered later when someone asked me where I got the idea to do this. I remembered that once, when I was teaching in this little village, and we were going out into the community interviewing the elders. This was a tiny community, 25 people. There was one woman there who was either a grandmother or a great-grandmother of all my students. I only had, between 5 and 10 students. So we were asking her about her childhood and something she remembered, and she only spoke Athabascan, and the children spoke mostly English, and I only spoke English. So her son was translating for us. And she was describing someone and something that had happened. Maybe I asked her a question, but she used the expression, "She was still gone." So I kind of looked at her son, who was, he translated what she said in those words, "She was still gone." And I looked at him kind of quizzically, and he said, "Oh, I should have translated that. She wasn't born yet. She hadn't been born yet." So I think through that kind of thing, just not long, deep conversations, but little interactions in language, I got that sense that people kind of come and go in life, and wherever else, whatever else is part of our life. So when I was writing Diamond Willow, then all those things came together, and interspersed with Willow's diamond poems, I have prose sections in the voices of the animals who are speaking as Willow's ancestors. Part of that also was that Jeannie from The Braid, my book that I wrote a couple of years back, I couldn't quite let her go, and I imagined Jeannie as having migrated across Canada, the United States, and into Alaska as a spruce hen. So if you look at the front cover of Diamond Willow, very carefully, I can show you if you're interested, you'll see there is a little spruce hen right under the O in Willow. You'll see the beak of that little spruce hen, and that's Jeannie from The Braid, which was just a fun thing for me to know. It's not exactly a sequel, it's just a kind of connection or a relationship between the books. I could go on and talk a lot more, but I'm going to wind this up. I want to say, in the years since I left Talida, it's often been my experience that birds and animals make their presence known in a particular way when our senses are sharpened by grief and love. It's a mystery that I acknowledge with gratitude and delight. In the presence of people who have passed on, if that presence finds expression in the protective presence of animals, and if that finds its way into my story, that is poetry at work, and I thank the Bennett Hopkins Committee for recognizing it. I feel deeply privileged to inhabit that place of poetry with young readers and with all of you this morning. I thank you all so much. And I wanted to say about what Stephen was mentioning about the book signing. I often, when I sign other people's books, I like to have a copy of my own book for people to sign for me. So that will be what the book signing will be this morning, that I'll have a copy of Diamond Willow, my one copy. And I would invite you to come and sign my book. Maybe if you want to write something that you have, that part of the theme of Diamond Willow is a theme of sort of self-forgiveness and appreciating your own accomplishment. So if you want to write anything like that in my book, something that you feel good about yourself for, I'll give you a gold sticker. The sticker actually is to put on. I'm hoping that you will be able to get a copy of my book at some point, and you can put the sticker on the book yourself. But Stephen and Carolyn have provided the stickers, and we can do that. There's also, if you want me to sign a copy of your book, there will be a tablet at the table where you can sign your name and address, and we can send you a signed book plate for after you are able to get a copy of it. So I think that's all the logistics, and I hope that I have made my appreciation really understood, because it's so deep and heartfelt. Thank you so much.